And we're off. We're off to the races. And we hope we have a good connection. We hope we have a lot of people today.
Indeed. It's going to be a good one today. It's going to be fun. It's going to be resourceful. It's going to be helpful. It's going to change your life for the better. So we're hoping that people will show up and absorb it and feel inspired. There he is.
Israel.
Hi, Israel.
Hola.
Hola, hola. Great to see you. Celebrate in the chat. Israel's Robbie Berry. Okay, so now I know this is going to be a really good video. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, just stuff that is our everyday lives. And this is really what's the most important to us.
Dawn.
Hey, Dawn's in the house.
Yay, Sin Havoc, you're in the house. This is what I'm really hoping for, is the to bring inspiration, because the information we have is ancient. This is old news. It's probably the oldest news you're going to find on the face of the planet. Miss Jenny Pace, it is so great to see you. Happy day to you. Yes. Happy day. Great to see people. Awesome. I like it when everybody comes up, because everybody gets a crown, because they're like #1 contributors. When we don't have too many people, we have a lot of crowns in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think everybody wants change. I think that's a key. Everybody really wants the world to change, but are we really ready to do the work ourselves? I mean, that's what it takes. It takes the work. You can't expect something for nothing in this world. Absolutely. In fact, in this universe, you really aren't going to get something for nothing. It's just the way things are set up. This is a school. This is a learning experience. We come here to grow.
I know.
And see, Diana's in the house as well. And let's hope that this is going to be a very, very big group, because, here is the thing. We all know that when you sell the loosh, people come in. They're just drawn to it like moths to a flame. When you talk about things like, is this the start of WW3? Is the big quake around the corner? Is there a tsunami coming? All these things drive people like moths to flame in. But when you say, are you really ready to change the world? And it does start with you, then people want to hit the highway for the most part, besides those like you guys that are truly here to change the world. Because, again, you're what we would call a starseed light worker. You've come for the express purpose to help others grow. And, it's not always easy to do. You could lead a horse to water, but, again, you can't make them drink. Elizabeth Jordan, good to see you. Rodney Horn, so glad you're here. Thanks that you find our content interesting. We always try to do everything with a spiritual twist and try to expose really the hidden realities, because, again, all they want you to do is to sell the hype, is to sell the fear. And this is how, the AI generated contents and titling, the AI algorithms, this is what they want. When demons run the show, so to speak, and really the demons are feeding off of negative emotions, then of course, anything that has the potential to create more negative emotions will be pushed into the algorithms and to the forefront. When you try to give people information that will truly set them free and truly change the planet, then obviously the system doesn't want this coming out. Dolores Inkbrandt's in the house, and Dee Coppins, good to see you guys. I hope everything is well down in Southwest Florida.
Indeed. Yeah, I know. It's very difficult to change the tide, because we have this big river flowing, and it's flowing in a certain direction, and it definitely has the ability to sweep people up and make other people flow with it. So we are going against the tide. I think that's the hardest part about this, is really helping people understand the importance of being true to yourself to the best of your ability, finding your authenticity, which isn't easy if you've had a lot of trauma. Sometimes we have to dig and dig and dig and figure out, okay, you know, why is this emotion here? Why is that emotion there? Hello, Viola, K-Heads. Great to see you guys. Yes, happy Wednesday to you too. Salutations. It does take some figuring, and hopefully you have someone to work through it with, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes, you know, if you're alone, you're called to work through it alone. That's just, you know, the kind of yucky part of the whole thing. If you're alone and you're lonely and you don't have anyone to talk to, the universe is saying, okay, you need to sit with this for a minute. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, when it comes to manifesting, the darndest thing happens every time. It's like you may want something and you write it down and you do all the things and you're manifesting and you're doing the mantras. And it's not until you have gone up and above that and past that want feeling that you get it. It's like finally you get it. It's almost like now that you don't want it, it's like you have it. Here you go. The universe says, here you go, you know. And so to me, it's really kind of bothersome, because you honestly, you can't even trick that feeling. There's no getting around that feeling. Let's say you want to date somebody really, really bad. You want a partner really, really bad, but it's not until you're like, hey, I'm fine being single. I am completely okay being single. In fact, I like being single. And then the universe comes and plops Mr. or Miss Perfect right in your lap. And it's like, oh my gosh, here I go. But you know what that gives you? That gives you the ability to just make sure that that person is right for you, because now you're picky. Now you're no longer in a state of want. Now you can stand back and say, is this person right for me? So in that way, it's a gift. But sometimes it can really get frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, so much of what we talk about all the time is again, finding your way, your individual way. Yes, we are all fractals. We are all fractals of the one source. So all you need is really within you, and you really just need to remember why you came here in the first place this time. And it is this time because, you know, we do this typically time and time and time again. We have our beloved Emma in the house. Good to see you. There's a lot of beautiful souls all around this world. We have a lot congregated up in the Pacific Northwest as well. Good to see you, Amy, as well. Solitude. Solitude can bring revelations. And Chris is sending love from, again, the country. Oh, the countryside is a blessing. Getting out into nature, it's a blessing. Oh, Frankie the Blue Nose Puppy, thank you so much. It's so good to see you. And you've also been with us so many years. We've had so many people here for so many years. What a blessing that is to share with you guys. Carolina Dream, I love the Carolinas. Carolinas have been home for me for many years. And, you know, I think the reality that I have come to is, why am I a gypsy? Well, because I've done this so many times. And it's hard for me to sit still, even on one planet, for too long, ultimately.
You know, we have to mix things up anyhow. You have to find a way to move things around and mix them up and keep them interesting. But at the same time, we need routine. So that's probably one of the things that I wanted to talk about, is the importance of routine. We can mix things up and have routine. In fact, that's probably the best way to do things, is when you start creating your routine or your spiritual routine. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, because people simply usually don't know, like, how do I start one? Where do I go? What do I do? And, you know, I mean, the baby steps that I like to take, is like the first thing I do when I wake up is I like to try to make the bed. I mean, if it's makeable, I'm going to make it. And that's just something that I do. And then we go along with these baby steps, and we have these things that we do every day. And when we have the things that we do every day, that takes a load off. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's just the body is automatically going through and it's doing the things. And it's allowing you to just kind of be a little more free. So when you start to, yeah, it's 60 seconds or less. Do it now. That's right. First thing, when your feet hit the floor, make the bed. And there's a really good app and a really good website I like to try to help you with those routines. It's called flylady.com. She's wonderful. She's great. Absolutely appreciate her. And she really helped me figure out my daily routines. But we're talking spiritual routine. So Mike and I, we have a spiritual routine that we work to do every day, unless we get up and there's some emergency we have to address, and then maybe we don't always get it done the way we do every day. But just having that routine and doing it, that's where the magic happens. And that routine, you know, that can be with your life and in general, and it can be with your spiritual practice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, another way of looking at it is you're kind of clearing out the clutter in order to receive what the universe wants to give to you for this particular day. And again, being in a receptive state of mind is so key. How do we get into a receptive state of mind? Well, we certainly need to brush aside all those things that are trying to grab our attention, and we just bring our attention to one point. If you want to become a very, very powerful, whatever it is, healer, you know, for instance, if you do feel like you want to go into the healing arts, you know, the first thing we have to do is heal ourselves and improve our focus. I think, again, this world is such that it is always demanding your attention. It's trying to get your attention to go to many different places at once. If we are, you know, being blasted with sensory overload, chances are we're going to miss an awful lot. And ultimately, that's really what the world's system just thrives off of. It is possible, I should put it out there, do you think it's possible to multitask? I think that's something that could be developed, but single-minded focus is perhaps the most powerful thing in the universe when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. A single-minded focus is, you know, it gives more power to the current situation. So when you are putting your all into one particular thing, that's going to create waves. That's going to create possibly shock waves, depending on how much you've worked on your energy body. And we're going to talk about that too, like how these modalities can really make whatever you do in life a lot more powerful and make it count. You know, I think in this life, we need to ask the question, am I doing everything I can to make it count? And then make sure whatever we're doing in this life, do your best to add to the happiness in the world and not take away from it, because there's enough sadness, there's enough trauma, there's enough grief. I mean, that's definitely in abundance.
Yeah, and you know, before we get going with this line of thinking that we have up here outlined to share with you guys, what came through today was Lakshmi, and Lakshmi was letting us know, and while most of the message was personal, she did say, you know, share the generalities with everybody, which is, again, it is good to be organized. And the more, she actually said that one of the limiting effects that can limit you from manifesting the most abundance in your life is your relationship with Saturn. And again, you know, there's many people that get into discovering, you know, all the hidden things, the occult secrets, and you know, they'll start to look at the hexagram storm on the bottom of Saturn, and Saturn being the origin of Saturday, Sabbath day, etc., etc., and then think Saturn is Satan and Saturn is evil. But if you look at traditional Vedic astrology, Saturn has all to do with karma. But what Lakshmi was bringing up was organization and structure. Yes, in this world, we have organization and structure that's manufactured to bring about the control of energies and also consciousness into the hands of the few over the many. But the reality is, the more structure and organization that we create in our own lives to give us the ability to pursue things that will cultivate, all of our best abilities that we can, bring to the forefront in this life to help us be powerful manifestors, organization and really cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. There is truth in that. We are going to be doing a video that's going to be part of an energy series all about purgation, and purgation comes up all the time. And, first thing you got to do is get rid of all the stuff that doesn't serve you. Get rid of the dirt, the filth, the grime. I mean, literally, clutter, filthiness, all those things that bring in germs, bacteria, bring in the ants, bring in all the pests, right? They're literally bringing in demonic energies into your home, into your life, into everything that's around you. If you are like a Linus walking around and you haven't bathed in 2 weeks, you haven't changed your clothes in a week, it might seem gross, and it is kind of gross, but the reality is what it's doing is it's drawing these negative, dark energies to you, which then will start to control you and work over your life. We've talked a lot about being the clearest vessel, and having your body be the clearest, healthiest, best vessel, because it is your temple for your consciousness, that it can be. It is so important. And in yoga too, we understand that it's almost impossible to be the very best version of ourselves if there's a lot of internal clutter going on.
DJ's in the house, and our little Emma think chair. Thanks, you guys, for coming in and showing up. This is the stuff that makes life count. This is where you dig in and you really, really change things. And honestly, not a lot of people are interested in that. They're just not interested in the truth. They're only out there in some way, shape, or form to, for chaos. And maybe they know it and maybe they don't. There's our KK. Hello, dear. And now is where we make the changes. And are they super exciting and fun and thrilling and all these things? Well, no, it's not, but it is profound. So it's like, you have to be able to switch out the adrenaline for something that has depth, switch out the quick tricks for something that has meaning. And to me, that's what makes it count. When I am working on something for the long haul and I am making baby steps, to me sometimes it's so frustrating and I just wonder, oh my gosh, am I really getting anywhere? And whenever I start to feel that way, is this ever getting me anywhere? I look back and I remember how far I have come. I have come a very long way. Those thoughts don't always come automatically, but they are there, and I have helped my brain kind of figure out where it's at and where it needs to go to help pull me up and out of a slump if that's where I'm at. There's our Mama Jan. Always blessed to see you in the house. Yes, I'm always moving items in my house to better flow. Mike is really good with that. I'm just so proud of my husband and his ability to create nice flow in the house, and his ability to organize. And he has a pretty strong Saturn in his chart. And when he does the things that make Saturn happy, well, Saturn rewards. And a lot of times it does help to figure out where is Saturn in your chart, especially when it's transiting. When we know where Saturn is transiting, we know that that's where Saturn is going to make your life count. And that's where Saturn wants you to work the hardest at things. The other thing Saturn can do, and this is why I think a lot of people don't like it, and is when it's going through a particular house, let's say the 6th house of diseases, deaths, and obstacles. And I do Vedic astrology, so I don't know. I know next to nothing about Western, so I don't know what, if the houses are different. But in Vedic, it's diseases, deaths, and obstacles. If you're going through that and, your health is not very good, that means Saturn is telling you there's room for improvement and we need to work on that. So that's a blessing. Sometimes we don't know what to do, but a lot of times if you know your chart, that'll give you some direction. Not everyone knows what to do, and that's why I found the planets so they were so helpful for me. They were a guiding light. They were, a ray of light in the darkness, because I didn't know what to do. But as soon as I did, then I did. It was like breaking a spell. It was wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the evidence is kind of all around us. This was one that really hit me years ago. As you see, this is back in 2015. This is 10 years ago. The placebo effect, right, is getting stronger with time. This is perhaps the most telling study that was ever done in my mind. Why would the placebo effect get stronger with time? What's a placebo? That's something that intentionally does nothing or should do nothing at all. So what it's showing is, well, you could say the placebo effect equals your intention. So why, really, we should say, rephrase it, why is your intention getting stronger with time? Because, what you belief. If you, again, go to the doctor and he tells you 4 months, that's about it. If you really believe the doctor, you can manifest that. Now, if the same doctor and nothing's changed in your body says, hey, you're good, don't worry, then you're probably going to manifest that. This is part of the realization of the fact that this reality is ultimately mind stuff. It's consciousness. It's a playground for consciousness in a 3D setting. It's heavy, it's thick, it's slow, it's very dense and viscous compared to our normal reality, which for us, when we're out of body, we really truly can control things and affect change pretty much instantaneously, depending on which density you are on. So the placebo effect getting stronger with time, that was just showing that the Kali Yuga was ending. Just that simple. It was the Kali Yuga is ending because our ability to manifest was increasing. That knowledge alone is more valuable than all the junk they give us on news all the time.
Being able to have that information from your cells when you're starting to heal. When I was on my healing journey, and a lot of times I would be in an enormous amount of pain, and I was taking different things like turmeric, ginger, other things to see aloe, what was going to bring me pain relief. The body knows. I would take something and I would hear in my mind, this is going to help you. And then a couple hours later, it helped me. So I learned to listen through my body through extreme pain. And to me, that's a blessing. And if I can take that information and help other people hear their cells, that's wonderful. And also, muscle testing. Muscle testing can be so very useful, but I do like to hear it from my own cells that, they're going to say this is going to help you or this is not going to help you. And that's how I work through my body. So it took a while as far as when the food that I eat for my cells to really speak up and say, that's what we really like, because my diet was not the best. So I was kind of going by, if it tasted good, my brain was like, thank you. But it wasn't until I really cleaned my body out from all of that stuff is when I was able to eat food, and then my cells were very, very tingly. Like Mike already has that ability to speak with his body that way, and I had to develop it. It took time, but boy, oh boy, is it worth it.
Yeah, I remember when I was going through Lyme's, and all of a sudden I had a craving for certain things, and they would make every cell in my body just tingle like crazy. That was a message from the cells in my body to the bigger me, to go down that route and listen to what the cells want. I've been blessed to hear voices at certain times that where the guides come through loud and clear, where Cindy could have conversations with the guides. Typically, they converse with me in different ways. A lot of times, images, scenes, pictures, sometimes other ways, and occasionally, loud and clear voices. And really, what came through when I was a kid and sick was I heard so loud and clear, you don't have to be sick. It's just as simple. You're choosing. And, it was a big realization, and that's really helped me over the years. And we might say, well, why am I choosing to be sick? What do you mean choosing to be sick? Often when we are sick, it really is because we're out of alignment with the higher self in some way, shape, or form, and the higher self is trying to get our attention. Obviously, in this world, pretty much everybody has a toxic overload, so we have to adjust by detoxing daily, and also detoxing from all the drama. And, here you have study finds that meditation strengthens the brain. Earlier evidence out of UCLA suggested that meditating for years thickens the brain in a good way, strengthens the connection between brain cells. Not that you're going to get thick-brained and dense, but the reality is, again, yeah, because we are consciousness. That's ultimately what we are. They want us operating like an automaton. They want us operating under their control. In fact, everything that's being done right now is all about controlling humans, controlling your perception, controlling ultimately your thoughts, and ultimately even trying to take control away from you of your own physical body. This is what is trying to be done by the system. So the reality is, we have had all the tools we need the whole time. Inner energy cultivation. This world is made of 4 elements. The 4 elements come from a 5th hidden element per se, but it's pre-element. It's not really an element. It's that which gives birth to all the elements. The life force, the chi. Which again, you could seriously equate it with the Holy Spirit, so to speak, in many ways. Again, there's a lot hidden in our religions where you can't find truths, but you can find the truths very open in other places. So cultivating inner energy through meditation in its many different forms. There were Harvard studies done. We have the book on it. Numerous studies done by Harvard, interestingly enough. Why would Harvard, if it is a tool of the system, do studies on this? Because they know they can't stop us realizing what's going on. They just want to try to still control the narrative as much as possible. They want to appease those people that are awakening and then try to, coerce them a little bit to come on back into the fold. So, they can't hide it. Yeah, absolutely. Qigong, Tai Chi, things also like yoga, mind, body, breath practices should be the foundation of your self-care process.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are so many studies that speak to mantras and how they can literally increase gray matter density in the brain and in the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, which is very, very important for your memory and emotion and regulation and cognition. The reduction in stress hormones, I cannot speak to that enough. That is really important. If you're just kind of constantly in fear, or you're running like a scared rabbit because there's constantly triggers all around you, that can really wear on the body. So you have to find that quiet, happy place where you feel safe and reduce the stress hormones so that the healing hormones can come in. And, sound healing, that's definitely something you can do through your mantras. And it doesn't have to be a difficult mantra. Om is probably the best thing you can do if you're just getting started. The other ones do have patterns to repattern the body, but there's all kinds of different ways to pattern the body. But it does synchronize the left and the right hemispheres when you're able to move the sound through your throat chakra and through your body. Sometimes people ask us, does it really matter if you say them out loud, or can I say them quietly because I don't really have a safe place to say them? People think that I'm crazy. And, to start out, it's a really, really good idea to get them out loud and create the pathways that are needed. So once you start that, then later, if you do it quietly, the body and the brain knows what is going on, and it can fall into that brain patterning without the voice. But yeah, to start, I highly recommend definitely out loud.
Absolutely. And, the reality is the more you look into it, of course, you have to dig into it, because they don't really want to show articles like this, yoga and breathing better than, drugs for lifting depression. Study confirms. Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at some of the drugs that will be prescribed, for somebody by the MD, what other problems are they going to end up causing? Because when you look at it, this is why they have those little pamphlets that can be huge, gigantic, pages and pages long. You should be aware that it could cause all sorts of other issues. When you really look at it, and you look at what they offer in the traditional pharmaceutical allopathic approach, it really doesn't end up getting to the root. It just covers up. And that's, yet that's the truth. And yet, again, you have to be so careful when you are doing videos like this. We have to say we're not medical professionals. We are not MDs. We're not nurses' aides. We don't have PhDs in medicine, again, Rockefeller medicine, so to speak, because it's really what ultimately it is. But can yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong actually get to the root cause is the question. And I think, yeah, because again, ultimately, according to traditional Chinese medicine, Taoist philosophy, and other Eastern or in more indigenous shamanic type practices, it's ultimately energy. Emotions are energy in motion that gets stuck in us and causes literal dis-ease. So by doing mind, body, breath practices, we can actually get more to the root of things than just taking something that alleviates symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It does take some going within and some practice, but once you get started and you're in the right direction with some kind of a routine, then it becomes easier and easier and easier. For those people who have a lot of problems with focus and cognitive control, it's really, really good for that too. People with brain injuries or trauma, they often struggle with distraction, emotional reactivity, and short-term memory. So this is something that can help with that too. It takes time, guys. It takes time. I'm someone that, I've had a lot of trauma. There's issues there. There's brain injuries there. And this is part of my daily practice. I do have to add in extra things, like I'm adding in red light therapy, I'm adding in ginkgo biloba, I'm adding in other things to help, because there's problems, like I said. But because of these problems, they are such a blessing. I've been able to go on this path looking for answers, because the DRs, they never helped for over 20 years, and things just continually got worse, and I was not able to truly heal and find peace. But now I'm getting little glimpses of peace. So it takes time, though. As far as the meditation and the mantra path, I've been on that good and strong for probably, 7 years maybe. And it's been a buildup. It's definitely been a buildup, and it's taken time. But you know what? I've made so much more progress in this 7 years than I did the whole 25 years that there was a problem.
Yeah, again, we can just share our opinions. And my opinion is very much this statement: antidepressant drugs are never the answer. They're never. And with, again, drugs failing in at least half of all cases, yoga is an effective alternative, says researchers. They even want to, maybe they don't want to, but they have to kind of agree. Yogic exercises scientifically, or there's my Freudian slip. It says significantly, but yeah, the real science is the science of the mind. The real science, yoga. I think to Yogananda's teacher, Sri Yukteswar, the holy science, which was taught to us by the benevolent ETs before the coming Kali Yuga. It really shows us that everything is about consciousness ultimately, and it's about balance. And you have to work through emotions because your emotions are extremely powerful, very, very powerful, more powerful than most people even realize. And in fact, humans are more powerful in some ways than many of the other entities that are out there in the universe because of our emotions. This is something that's come through from the guides that I don't know if we've shared that exactly like that. But again, what you're seeing here is something that again shows you what we would view as the futility of the system, because you have that little pamphlet that's going to show you all the things that could possibly go wrong, and chances are some of those things probably will show up in the course of time if you keep going down that path of least resistance with the pharmaceutical industry, as so many people are coming to the realization that the war on drugs has really been a war on humanity in general, a war on consciousness. So when you're taught, and where they found here that when patients were taught a particular form of hatha yoga, that they had 2 official sessions a week, and were some had 3, and they were asked to continue doing yoga and breath work at home. They had relief from their symptoms. But the thing is that, again, we might get pain in certain parts of the body. What we understand from medical Qigong, acupuncture, acupressure, traditional Chinese medicine, is there are actually points in the body where the emotions get stored. So when you go have a massage, for instance, that can trigger an emotional response. This is so well known. Again, in bodywork circles, people know this. Now, you could also do the same yourself by having a regular yoga and Qigong practice. You could literally get to those trouble areas, breathe into those areas, visualize life force, because again, this whole reality is all about your consciousness. What do you want to achieve? So visualize in that you're breathing the life force into those problem areas, and you can do it with still meditation too, and see it clearing away the debris that's been there for maybe years, maybe it's even lifetimes. I've had experiences I've shared before. I had one lady that had swollen feet, and she could never get any sort of pharmaceutical relief from the edema in her feet and ankles. There was no explanation that the doctors had for her. They didn't know what was causing it. Eventually, after working on her, I could usually get her feet to stay clear for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then she would have to come back for another appointment because they would start to swell up again. I suggested, why don't you have a past life regression done? See what happens. And she had a past life regression done. And it turned out in that she found that she had a life where she went down after flooding around her home, went down into the basement and was electrocuted because she stepped into electrified water. That was carrying over into this life. And that, again, shows you just how are you going to get to the source of that with, the big pharma approach. You're not.
No. I mean, it's just not going to be helpful. And I think that is something that a lot of people struggle with because they're just trying to find peace. They're so extremely desperate. They just want help, and they don't know that there's other modalities in place, and they have nowhere to turn, so they turn to a trusted place. Now, a lot of people really, really struggle with the information that flows through the body. It can be very painful, especially when some of the channels, the information just flows through whether you like it or not. It's going to go through, and when you have traumas, that can create pain. It's going to create a situation where you might be very, very confused. If you don't know what's going on with you, you might reach out and just try to get some type of relief because there's no way to really, really control it. So that has been extremely problematic in my life, and it wasn't until I found the alternative modalities, because I was acting out of desperation. It's like I am not understanding what's going on with myself. Now I do. Now I know exactly what was going on with me, and the information that comes through now, I understand it. And that took some time, and it took some doing, and it took for me to go through something that I can now help other people with. So I find that as a blessing that, yes, I did walk that road with going to DRs, and I kind of picked apart what worked and what didn't, and most of it didn't, but that was me. But still, I can talk to people, and I can relate to people, and I can touch people on that level. So I don't take any of it away. I'm just really grateful that there's help out there for myself and for other people.
Here's another study from Frontiers in Psychiatry, drug addiction, the systematic review and meta-analysis. And, what is it doing? Previous preliminary studies have found that Qigong exercises produce significant effects in healthy people in various clinical populations. The purpose of this study was to systematically review the effects of Qigong and Tai Chi on individuals with drug addiction. And what did they find? They found that it seriously helped them. Results showed Qigong and Tai Chi exercise had a significant overall effect on depression. And a subgroup analysis found that Qigong outperformed Tai Chi on improving depression, anxiety, and sleep quality. As somebody that became a martial arts practitioner at 12 after being picked on for years as a little chubby kid, I found that I just kept gravitating more towards the spiritual side of things. And then when I ruptured 2 discs, instead of going back to karate, and this is as a young adult, I just felt that it was time to go deeper into the internal aspects of it. So we were blessed with having a amazing practitioner from China, from Beijing, in our own little hometown, and somebody had actually been to the Olympics, won medals, and studied wushu as well as several forms of Tai Chi and Qigong. So I started taking classes there. I had been studying on my own for many years before that, but after going and studying the classes, I found that I was really going more towards the Qigong than the Tai Chi more and more. And Tai Chi is Qigong, but it has as its primary goal energy cultivation for self-defense. So, it's not 100% like the Qigong, which is all about really cultivating a life force to lift ourselves up spiritually as the primary and to help our physical overall well-being as the primary goal. Tai Chi primary goal is basically self-defense. Secondary is improved health, mental clarity, wellness, etc. So I found that I truly gravitated more towards the Qigong, and kind of never looked back. Although, Tai Chi definitely has benefits as well, absolutely. And it's whatever you're gravitating towards at that time. This is another one. There's studies going back to 94 here, going back to 86 even being referenced that shows, and this is what the medical system wants, is to say, well, okay, do that, but use it in combination with big pharma. Again, I personally don't use any pharma, none. Technically none. I mean, I use aspirin maybe a couple times a year, and that's only when I'm really kind of being lazy, honestly. Not everybody's on the same path. I just got from the guides, again, with also myself working for a pharmaceutical company for about 3.5 to 4 years, which working for the pharmaceutical company was the last nail in the coffin of me using any pharmaceutical products.
Israel, thank you so much. He says it still amazes me how the topics you guys speak about and the timing of it always seem to be something I needed to hear at that moment. You both have been such a thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the help. That is really appreciated, and that's a great way. If we are able to give you guys something, that is one way that's greatly appreciated. To give back, and thank you, Israel. And we do our best to reach people in that way, a very touching way.
Yeah, absolutely. Study after study, all throughout really the last 30, 35, maybe even 40 years has shown Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, and mantras, can all actually deliver, in my opinion, I have to put that in there, much more benefit than anything that we're going to get from Walgreens, CVS, et cetera, if you know what I mean. Yoga, and, if you add mantras into the mix too, mantras are really powerful, very powerful. This is from, Mike Adams, I think. Yeah, this is his newsletter. Better than drugs. Oh, yeah. Even gardening, just getting out and gardening is being out in nature, because Mother Nature is ultimately the ultimate healer when you get down to it. Again, we've gotten from the guides that, our bodies are temporary. They're a gift from Earth that we give back to the Earth when we move on past this path. Yeah, these are the best choices in our opinion, and those that are more inclined to look into traditional, truly traditional. They'll say this is the alternative, but no. Again, this pharmaceutical path has only been really since the last 120 years or so, allopathic medicine, and the dominance of it, within the last 100 years for sure. Now, mantra repetition has a measurable healing effect, and it all depends on what you're saying. And this is where we get into that, what I would say is gaslighting, or very, very narcissistic abuse ideology that comes from the whole concept, again, of original sin. Because you may not have ever thought of it in these terms, but by saying that there's something wrong with you, that you're naturally missing the mark because you were born, that's not a positive, upbeat vibration you're putting out there. That's not positive at all. It's quite negative. So when we're saying something over and over, and I think back to what you have in a Catholic church ceremony, where you're constantly saying the same prayers over. You're up, you're down on your knees, you're sitting down, then you're standing, then you're kneeling, then you're sitting down. It's Simon Says, and it's hammering home that you need somebody or something other than yourself to become a better version of yourself. Nothing could be truer. Nothing could be farther from the truth, I should say. Nothing could be farther from the truth. When you do mantras, and you could take it even as affirmations, just say a simple affirmation to yourself of, every day in every way I am becoming a better person. Just that simple. Happier, healthier, more whole, and more free. I mean, you could add in whatever you want to. This was, I did use affirmations too when I was at my lowest point in my life. And since then, I've moved more into the Sanskrit mantras because these Sanskrit mantras connect us to 5 and 6D individuals, literal individuals, very, very benevolent beings that are our teachers in the golden age. So we can connect to them, and we can still have a relationship with these great teachers who are known throughout our history by many names in different areas. But you don't even have to, go down that route. You could just do the simple Om, or you could do Om Shanti. Shanti is peace. Sanskrit is a language that doesn't have a lot of the negative connotations that English does. You ever wonder why they call it spelling? Do you ever wonder why we say good morning? A period of mourning is a period of bemoaning loss and things like that. So again, they've put so many negative connotations in the English language, for instance, that I do find the Sanskrit to be much higher vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there is vibrations in there that are different and do things to the human body. It's very scientific. Unfortunately, like with everything else, it probably has been tinkered with, but I have noticed that it is very effective. It can be a little bit intimidating at first, but give it a little bit of time. Give yourself a month or so of just going over it, starting with a very simple one Ganesh, and see how that goes. But if you don't even want to go there because it's just too much, go with Om. Just Om can help that brain. It can help it feel better and connect and do something that's positive.
Yes, absolutely. And studies show the benefit. It literally helps the brain. Here you see, mantras are a subtle drug. Yeah, absolutely, in a positive sense, not in a negative sense. It literally rewires our brain. It strengthens our neural synapses. And energetically, when we do these Sanskrit mantras, like when you're doing Ganesh, who is the remover of obstacles and also represents the root chakra, you're literally taking in energy that's strengthening your physical body. It literally is pulling in energy. Cindy could actually see the energy that comes in when I'm doing these mantras, and each one is a unique energy.
They are, and they'll do something different. No two things are alike, but they can very well be similar.
There are different states. The brain operates on different wavelengths at different times, and we can shift into more desirable states of mind to connect with our higher self, our guides, and also benevolent beings on the higher realms that you may think of as angels or angelic. Again, we find ourselves surrounded by dark demonic forces in the governance of the system that we are born into here on planet Earth, but that system is again being exposed for what it truly is. When we wonder, why the nonstick frying pan is loaded with toxic chemicals, why is the water loaded with fluoride, why are the clouds in the sky full of aluminum and barium? Why is this, the radiation coming off of the cell phone or those towers affecting us in a negative way? Why? Why would they recommend full frontal lobotomies back in the day? Why, do 9 out of 10 physicians recommend Camel cigarettes back in the 40s and 50s? We kid you not. Oops. No, there's no hoops. This is just what it is. The system is about keeping you in a limited state of mind. Meditation can change that, and it can shift you into a different brain state that will allow you to pull down information from your guides, from your higher self, from heaven, so to speak, into the now, and help you to be the very, very best version of yourself. And so, understand that, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, mantras, those are all forms of meditation. Candle gazing, just being out in nature still, just watching a bird, just watching the waves at a beach come and crash, listening, feeling what nature is telling you. That's powerful meditation.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people go into a church and they listen for someone to tell them what to do. But the reality of it is we should be going outside and allowing the universe to speak to us.
Yeah, and I just want to finish up with saying, again, the different brainwave states. There's been numerous studies done that show that yoga practitioners and Qigong masters, for instance, can almost instantaneously shift their brainwave state. And it's just because this is what they do every day. And so like with Cindy and I, with our practice, we do it multiple times every single day. So yes, we can shift. And anybody can develop this ability. It's just a matter of practice.
Yep, practice and patience and being good to yourself and just being the best person you can be.
Well, sorry they're loading in the ads there, Robbie. Yeah, I see YouTube, just to clarify, they took over loading ads. You can just kind of put in whether you want low, moderate, or high. The reality is they just always keep lowering the ad revenue. And again, we are grateful to the Patreons that are supporting us, because it's the Patreons really that have kept us going. And the support here when you guys support us here, again, that keeps us going. I went and looked at how many ads they put in the live from 2 days ago, and there was 26. This is the AI that's sticking the ads in there. So, I cut it down to 4. Which is typically what I do, because if you don't do that, then they bury it in the algorithms. If you don't allow them to put the ads in, this is really what the system does. But hey, we keep moving forward. We are so grateful for you guys, because we want to give you the tools for you to succeed. And look at this little cutie pie. It doesn't get any better than that. For sharing love, with nature. This was our Patreon exclusive yesterday. We do have another Patreon exclusive in mind that we will try to get to today or tomorrow. Again, there's Patreon exclusives going up each week, but usually every couple days, 2-3 days. And again, these are videos that don't make it out onto any other platform. So again, you can join the Patreon family at any time. And we do also have now activated on YouTube the memberships as well. And with the upper tier of the YouTube memberships will include some exclusives as well. But what YouTube is, it's ultimately the control system. It's Google Alphabet, and obviously they don't like what we do. So we are so grateful for you guys, because this is really what we want to do, is to help others empower themselves.
Indeed.
And we could stop the ad totally if we get to a certain level, again on Patreon. Then we will demonetize ourselves, YouTube. But at this point, we still kind of need it to actually pay the bills and keep moving forward. Again, we couldn't do it without you guys.
Special thanks, everyone. Namaste.
Source bless and namaste.